Micah Parsons versus Jerry Jones. So, my first surprise was that Micah actually showed up the first day of Cowboy camp, and Micah gave away nearly all of his leverage the first day of Cowboy camp. You understand, if a player goes to camp, then leaves for more than 5 days, said player can be put on what's called the retired list, and he can't play for any other team, and he loses all of his salary for the entire season. But a player who does not report to camp has until the Tuesday after week 10 to report. Now, obviously, you're supposed to be fined $40,000 a day, but you remember with CeeDee Lamb last year, he was fined, missed all of training camp. They waived the fine when they make the new deal. Forget about the $40,000 a day. The point here is a true boss wanting a new contract does not report to camp. A true boss has the conviction and the courage to fly solo, to stay home, stay away, and wait out Jerry Jones, as you'll remember Ezekiel Elliott did after leading the NFL in rushing yards per game. Each of his first 3 seasons, he went to Cabo for part of his holdout, but he held out. And as CeeDee Lamb did last year, after proving he is the NFL's most productive receiver. I don't want to hear anything else. He is number one to me. Those two, Zeke and CeeDee, made Jerry Jones sweat. Not Micah Parsons. As any star who holds out for all of camp will tell you, and I've known a bunch of them, it ain't easy just sitting home, watching the clock, counting the days while your teammates are texting and calling from camp out in California. They're practicing, they're playing preseason games. You want to be with the fellas, sure you do. Maybe get away from the wife and kids for just a little while, especially with the kids out of school. But if you want to get paid the way you deserve ultimately to be paid, you just have to wait. That's the system. That's life in the NFL. Extreme patience is your only hope as a player. Holding out is the only way. Unless, of course, you're Dak Prescott. Don't get me started. But Micah didn't want to hang out by himself at home. No, he decided to hold in, to be at camp without actually participating in the drills or the scrimmages, go to meetings, hang around, be with the fellas. Micah couldn't stand being away from the limelight and the spotlight. He needed to hear the fans at practice cheering him on, encouraging him to get what he's worth from that sorry old billionaire Jerry. Needed to address the media the first day of camp, not alone, but with a hype man of a wingman, Trevon Diggs, at his side, egging him on and reminding him of points he'd forgotten to make to the media. What? I must admit, I lost some more respect for Micah when he caved in and reported to camp the first day. That day, this is what Micah said. I'm here for my teammates. I'm not here to please another grown man. I'm not here for him, said Micah. Yet being there day one benefited that other grown man, Jerry Jones. That further empowered Jerry and his son Stephen to take shot after cryptic shot at Micah because they're sensing weakness in Micah Parsons that they didn't sense in Zeke, didn't sense in CeeDee. As I've said before, Micah is not a leader. I wish he were, but he just has proven to be more of a follower. He just wants to be one of the fellas. He wants to do his Monday podcast. He wants to be loved by the internet. He wants to be treated by fans and media as the best defensive player in football, even if his performances have consistently shown he is absolutely not that guy. Not that guy. as I have said many times, Jerry and Stephen Jones are in their summer glory when they're involved in a big contract dispute with a star. This makes Jerry and Stephen even more famous because they get asked about the big contract battle by the media nearly every day of training camp out here in California. They can impress their friends by putting Micah in his place with their cryptic shots. They can flex. They can grandstand. They can bask in the controversy. You know, at first, because I'm trying to be glass half full this year, at first I thought maybe Micah's game plan was to show up, appear to be holding up his end of the bargain, and maybe start winning the PR battle with the fans and the media. Now, a number of fans did shout, "Pay Micah," when Jerry did address the crowd in Oxnard before Saturday's practice. But Sunday, this is what Jerry told the media. "I heard it light," meaning he didn't hear it very loudly. Jerry went on to say, but not compared to how I heard them say, "Pay Lamb," meaning last year. That was a faint little sound compared to the way they were hollering last year, "Pay Lamb." Whoever's not in, you can count on a few hollering that you got to pay whoever. But it was a big, loud chant, said Jerry, last year on Lamb. Why he calls Lamb instead of CD, I don't know. It just sounds so, detached from CD. I mean, he's your best player, Jerry. Come on, man. Call him CD. But I must admit, I do tend to agree with Jerry on this one. I was certainly on my soapbox a year ago to pay CD because CD Lamb had proven so much more than Micah has. Yeah, I realize that several in the national media have blasted Jerry for not paying Micah, in part because Jerry Jones is now the biggest, easiest target in all of sports, as are his Cowboys, my Cowboys, who, of course, are going on 30 years without even making it back to an NFC championship game, let alone a Super Bowl. I have no doubt that some fans have been yelling, "Pay Micah," at Jerry, but I also believe the informed, intelligent fans know better. I'm starting to think Jerry and Stephen are informed and intelligent enough to not ultimately just cave in just before the season starts and make Micah the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. He has not earned that. I will say it again and again and again through training camp. Not earned that. And I'm no longer convinced that Micah Parsons would ever be able to live up to that big of a salary cap crusher for my Dallas Cowboys. Hence, Stephen Jones dared to say Sunday about the fan chance to pay Micah. Stephen said, "We want to pay Micah too. He's got to want to be paid too," which you can interpret to mean Micah is just asking for way more than Jerry and Stephen believe he's worth. That's the truth. He is. So let's take a quick, hard look, shall we, at just how much Micah is worth. Nectar of the gods. Micah Parsons was sensational as a rookie, in part because the league hadn't yet caught up to his quickness and his speed, his explosiveness, hadn't yet figured out that the best way to neutralize Micah Parsons is just to run right at him. That he's still attacking the quarterback with more of a basketball frame that can get worn down by midseason, by maybe mid-November, from the constant pounding by massive tackles aided by torpedo hits delivered by running backs and especially by fullbacks. Yep. You got me on this one. I got carried away that first season about Micah, and I began to envision the football second coming of Lawrence Taylor. We even had the great DJ Steve Porter create a video that we called 11 from Heaven. Micah certainly lived up to that video as a rookie. And then in year 2 and year 3, those late season fades began. Let's start in 2022. Micah did have 12 sacks in the first 11 games. That'll work. Then just 1.5 sacks in the last 6 games will not work. In the playoffs, he did have 1 sack in Tom Brady's swan song game. You'll remember at Tampa, just 1 sack. But Micah Parsons pretty much disappeared in that playoff loss at San Francisco with 0 sacks, 1 solo tackle, and 1 hit on the quarterback in 66 snaps that he played that day at San Francisco. I'm sorry, I'm just telling you the truth, the painful truth. When it matters most, I haven't seen cold-blooded NFL killer in Micah Parsons. Have you? I haven't. 2023. Micah did have 11.5 sacks in the first 11 games. That'll work. Then 2.5 in the last 7. You like that? Kirk Cousins liked it because it kept him clean. I didn't like it. And then, of course, came that home playoff nightmare against Green Bay, down 27-0 before halftime. Micah had his worst game as a pro, as a Dallas Cowboy. Micah in that game had 0 sacks, 1 solo tackle, 1 assist, 0 hits on the quarterback in 48 snaps. What? Micah, come on, man. Last season, Micah did open with a big game at Cleveland because everybody had a big game at Cleveland that day, but then came 2 ugly home losses at Jerry World. Cowboys were down 35-16 at halftime to a mediocre Saints team that would miss the playoffs. A mediocre Saints team that ran Micah and that defense right off the field. 35 points at halftime. Micah in that game wound up with 0 sacks, 0 solo tackles, 1 assist, and 0 hits on the quarterback. What? And he wants to be the highest paid defensive player ever? I mean, this is a game just last season. Then came, right after that, Ravens at home, remember? Ravens were up 28-6 after 3 quarters. Micah again went Vegas magic act. Now you saw him, now you didn't. Poof, gone. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. That day he did have 4 solo tackles. Wow, 4. But only because the Ravens attacked him relentlessly with their run game. What? Highest paid ever? Seriously? Then game up at New York against the Giants, Jersey, obviously. Micah had 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits. It was a 20-15 Cowboys win. But in that game, as you know, he got hurt, missed the next 4 games with a high ankle sprain. I will give Micah this, though, about last year. 11 of his 12 sacks last year came after he returned to play the last 9 games, of course, for a bad team, as he went into a contract push overdrive for the rest of the season. But here's the larger point. On day 1 of camp, Trevon Diggs reminded Micah to make this point. The Steelers took care of TJ Watt. The Browns took care of Myles Garrett. Heck, the Raiders took care of Max Crosby. Yeah, those 3 teams did take care of those 3 players because they should have. All 3 of those players are better football players than Micah Parsons. TJ and Myles Garrett have won a Defensive Player of the Year. Micah has not. Heck, Nick Bosa and Patrick Surtain have won Defensive Players of the Year since Micah came into the league. Micah has not won one yet. Since Micah Parsons came into the National Football League, Myles Garrett is first in sacks with 60 and TJ is second with 58.5. Micah is fifth with 52.5. Max Crosby is only seventh in sacks, but over Micah's 4 seasons, Max Crosby is first in the NFL in tackles for loss because Max Crosby, as you know, disrupts. Micah is tied for fifth in tackles for loss since he came into the league. Now let's look at hits on the quarterback. Since Micah came into the league, Nick Bosa is first. Micah is fifth. Again, fifth. I am not making any of this up. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not equivocating. These are the facts, ma'am, just the facts. Since Micah Parsons came into this league, the stats say he's the 5th best edge rusher in the National Football League. The 5th best. And he wants the most money ever paid to a defensive player at any position. So what does the eye test tell you? I know what it tells me, that TJ and Max and Nick Bosa all consistently go after the passer with more relentless fury than Micah consistently does. I'm talking about relentless fury that just jumps off your TV screen. And my eye test also tells me that Myles Garrett is far more of a beast, just an immovable object, a he-man's man. A flat out, far and away, more of a hold that line force than Micah will ever be. And I'm supposed to scream at Jerry, pay that man his money. You know, go Teddy KGB on him out of Rounders. Seriously, I'm supposed to pound the table and say, come on, Jerry, do the right thing. Make Micah the highest paid defensive player ever. Ever? I'm not that gullible, that stupid, that much of a blindly loyal Cowboy fan since I was 10 years old. I did all that last year for CD because he deserved it. CeeDee Lamb will live up to it. CeeDee Lamb is as flat out a baller as you'll ever see on a football field. That's what I said the moment he was drafted. Remember, I danced on that pick. I pushed for that pick before that draft if he fell that far, and he did. CeeDee Lamb is better at playing receiver than any other player on my team is at playing his position. CD will live up to every last dollar of his contract and then some. CD is not afraid. CD was not overwhelmed by the pressure to live up to his contract. Then again, as I said a year ago, CD deserved more money than Justin Jefferson, and he actually surprised me, disappointed me by taking a little less than Justin Jefferson, making CD the 2nd highest paid receiver. Okay. I'm just being honest with you. I'm seriously afraid Micah Parsons isn't mentally strong and tough enough to live up to being the highest paid defensive player ever. He doesn't deserve that much money. I think he knows he doesn't deserve it, and I seriously doubt he could bear up under the burden to live up to it. He is not a boss. He is not that guy. Be careful what you wish for, Micah. So, look. I am trying. I am doing my darndest and my damnedest to be bullish on my Dallas Cowboys chances this year. In large part because I love the additions to the pass rush. I told you the moment he was drafted, and I continue to bang the table on this one, I love the 2nd round pick Donovan Ezeruwaka. I love Sam Madison returning from injury. I love that the Cowboys reacquired Dante Fowler Jr., who simply led the Commanders in sacks last year with 10.5, and we got him back and took him from them. I truly believe each of these three can provide at least as much season-long impact as Micah has been able to. I think I said Sam Madison. I meant Sam Williams, if I misspoke on that one. And on offense, I believe George Pickens will make an enormous difference. George Pickens in a contract year trying to show Mike Tomlin how wrong he was to give away George Pickens. I love that. I believe George Pickens, the NFL's best deep threat, will make CeeDee Lamb even more difficult to contain. I'm serious. That's serious. And yeah, I realize we have a first-time head coach nobody else ever wanted. Probably turn into just another Jerry puppet. And I know we have little to no run game. I'm hearing good things about Jaden Blue out of Texas, but probably little to no run game. It's going to have to be pass first, and then run. And I know that Tyler Guyton will be shaky at best at left tackle. I'm not the biggest fan. I watched him all those years at Oklahoma. And I know full well that Tyler Booker, their first-round pick this year, might be even shakier than Tyler Guyton at right guard. It sounded like he had lost his job to that cheap free agent buy that Jerry made from Miami, Rob Jones, who then on Sunday broke some bone in his neck and is going to be gone for 2-3 months, the team says. Here we go again. But I'll tell you the truth. My blood boiled the other day when I read in The Athletic that the Cowboys were a sure bet to finish under their over-under for wins of 8.5. What? So they're going to go, what, like 7-10 like last year, or even 6-11 or 5-12? Stop it. But I must admit, now I'm actually hoping I read that for once Jerry has held that bottom line against a big star, and that this time the star has caved in, that Micah has caved in and accepted a little less than TJ, a little less than Myles Garrett, even a little less than Nick Bosa. Because I'm here to tell you, if Jerry does make Micah Parsons the highest paid defensive player ever, man, that 8.5 wins under just might be right.